Have you ever wondered what is in the fish food? And is it safe? And what are we really paying for? And over time you'll realize that natural foods or real foods are going to be way more beneficial to you and also your fish. Alright, so first we're going to talk about my frozen foods I've created. You can see when I started this project in 2021, and we've done 147 batches since then. We're probably more like 155 because that was a few months ago. So this is the food right here. It's a frozen food. Okay, so we're going to go through how we make this food and how you can get this food for yourself. If you live in the lower 48 states, I can ship you this food, but you will have to do a little of your own work for it. But it's so worth it. Let's put it this way: a pound of bloodworms is $25, and you yield under an ounce. So for 16 ounces of food, you yield 1 ounce, and for this food is about $20 made, and you yield 16 ounces, a little over. Okay, so let's see how the fish like it. So this is the carnivore, about 45% protein, 10% fat. This is the herbivore omnivore. It's about 30% protein and about 5% fat. So let's feed some of these new discus and see how they like it. So these discus are 3 months old, and they've been fed this food exclusively, all my foods. So what's nice about this food is it sticks to the glass. It doesn't stay forever, but it's all the oils in it. So let me just kind of go through a few of the items that are in it. So you can see they really go for it. What's nice about it is it flakes off, and the whole point of my foods was to make sure that everybody got some, because what happens is when you drop food like a pellet in a tank, all the dominant fish obviously take charge and they don't let the least dominant fish. Now as they start picking at this food, it's going to start flaking off, and what you'll see is a lot of these fish will drop down and start eating off the bottom. And that was my point of more of a natural feeding for the discus. Discus are grazers. They don't have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They pick at food all day long. So as close as we can come to that natural behavior, the better off they're going to be. And if you look at these fish, I had about 500. I've sold most of them, and they have funded this project. I was selling them between $15 and $20 each. I had 4 batches at about 500. And these are left, so these are actually for sale, and then I'm growing out a bunch, but I'll show you my big ones that I have over there that are 6 months, and they'll eat this food too. Everything in my room eats it. The rams, the rainbows, so you see how it flakes off. The cory cats, all the plecos, the L numbers love it. Now I thought the L numbers would go for the omnivore diet, but they actually tend to like the carnivore a little better. They're the L134, so I'm not sure if that makes a difference. But I kind of give them both, and in the morning there's a little bit of the omnivore, the green, and the carnivore is gone. So they're going to pound through this pretty quick. I think let's see if we can see the time here. So we're at 4 minutes from the start of the video. They probably had that for 2 minutes, and it's almost gone. So my point in creating these foods was to feed these fish during the day while I was gone. Now I have other foods. I'm going to show you some of those. So I have all these foods I've created too. And so I have high protein pellets. These are the fry foods. 58% protein and 59% protein. We want the higher protein for the growing fish. Okay? And then these are my flake food on top, brine shrimp, blackworms, krill, soldier fly, bloodworms, mysis, and smaller krill. So if you look at the labels, the yellow is for young and the blue is for big. And then we have these here, the ultimate pellet. 35 pellets I've tried. I've come down to 2, and both of them are made by a local company here. And then we have the advanced growth. which is a 59% protein, so a juvenile food basically. And then my 2 frozen foods. Now I have about 50 products I'll be making and selling, and let's kind of walk through and feed some more fish. So I kind of want to show you these fish here. These are my 6-month-olds, and they have exclusively been fed on my foods. So if you can see my hand up against, that's 6 months old. Pretty good size. You see that one there? So let's try these guys and see what they think. It's been a long day. I'm trying to get this video out for a few days, but I'm so slammed with work right now. But so the same thing. You can see the bigger fish are dominant, but what will start happening is it'll flake off. Now, as far as the carnivore diet, I think the Discus do like it slightly better, but I was shocked on how much they do love the Omnivore, or it's actually considered probably an herbivore, but it's kind of right in that middle area. So you can kind of see it flaking off a little, and that's kind of what we want. We want all these fish to get some. See how they eat it off of the bottom? And then what will happen as they get done eating, they'll start grazing on the bottom of the tank. Now if you have a heavily planted tank, I would suggest bottom feeders, but this food would work in a planted tank. I actually had it in one of my Corridora tanks and had no issues, and it was heavily planted with and hardly any water changes, and the water quality always stayed really good. But I would highly suggest on a planted tank or substrate tank to have bottom feeders to feed this food. This is a everyday food because of the protein. Comes in about 45%, 44%. I haven't done a final analysis. I've done a few rough analysis, but I'll get that exactly to where it needs to be. And it's 10% fat. So you see how it falls? But if you look through the tank, you can kind of see it's kind of dispersing a little bit. And my thought process was, when I was used to feed the Sarah Ona taps, how all the fish got even growth on those. So that was kind of my thought on this food. So amazing ingredients. By the end of it, or I'll just put the ingredients up on the screen for you. And then this guy was grown strictly on my food here. So he came in at about 2 inches. And he's a male breeder. And then back here is a Coupois, and she has been growing on my food too from about 4 inches. So they're going to be pairing up. And everything in my room eats it. So these little stir-bys, fat stir-bys, these are actually wild stir-bys, and they eat this food too. And then the big reason I made this food was for the Ultimate Angels. They're eating me out of house and home with bloodworms, and I just was about to sell them because of the cost. It was literally costing me an arm and a leg to feed these guys. So they're strictly on this diet now too, but they eat the freeze-dried blackworms. They eat mostly freeze-dried and the frozen now. So I haven't fed my room any frozen foods as far as bloodworms, brine shrimp, or mysis in about 6 months. I think I fed them once in 6 months. So these guys were the reason, the inspiration for making this food, and so I will keep them now because they're cost effective as far as feeding. But yeah, the feeding was getting out of control of the bill. So they're coming out really nice. Now, as I talked about the L134s, they eat this. Now I don't put this in the tank until tonight. These are the Gary Lang Bozemanai, my 4th generation, male and 4 females, or 4 females. But the L134s eat it every night. I do give them Repashy and pellets, but they probably get this 4 times a week. So yeah, and they do like the carnivore better than the omnivore, but they do eat both. Okay, so let's see what we can do with some more fish. These are my grow outs that I'm growing out to sell. And this is the Omnivore. It's a little much. That's the Omnivore diet. We'll see if these guys can pound it. So this is mostly the wet ingredients that you would have to purchase for this one's really cheap and simple. It's basically frozen green beans and white shrimp. White shrimp is important that you use the white shrimp. So you're probably talking a few bucks to make this, plus the dry ingredients. So I didn't think the discus would eat this, but they do. They attack it. They're very. So you see how it drops down, and that's kind of what we're after. We want it to split up, so it's all throughout the water column, and they will peck at this for the next hour and clean it all up. They will clean every bit. Now, one thing about this food is not much waste as far as the feces of the fish. They tend to just go with the ash in the food, so it turns into like a spider web. So you don't get much droppings. You do get some, but not much. Now the smaller fish do tend to have a little bit more droppings because they eat so much. They probably get this twice a day, and then they get freeze-dried probably twice a day. So you see how they graze? That's kind of what you want discus to do. This way everybody gets food. And if you look at the growth pattern on these fish, they're all pretty much even. Now males and females are going to be different sizes. Okay? So let's try these guys here next to them. These guys are more my grow outs. So I consider these my A group. And these guys are my B group, which isn't much different. It's mostly just nose shape and shape of their bodies. So you can see I don't put the carnivore in, and they go just as hard at the omnivore. But if you're looking for growth, you probably want to stick with I kind of do a mixture. I do half and half. I do early morning, I do the carnivore, and then at night I do the omnivore. So you see how it falls apart. That was my goal. And it probably took me a good 50 that I threw away at the very first, and then 50 to get to this point, so about 100 to finally get it to fall apart right and make sure they're eating off of the bottom like this. And this is the way you get discus to grow even. No beef heart. I don't believe in beef heart. There's so much potential for seafood, and when you see the ingredients, you will know that it's all quality. Alright? So let's feed these rams. These are the last of my breeders. I had about 700 of these rams, and I've sold them all. And they funded this project too. So between the discus and rams, I would say, and the angelfish, they basically paid for this food to be developed. So that's a lot of food. And I didn't stick it hard because I want them to knock at it, and I want them to knock that stuff down quick. There you go. So now when it hits the bottom, this is when it starts to spread even more. Now on this tank, I don't clean the bottom, I just do water changes on it, so that's what you're seeing. And that's kind of what the food creates. That's all waste from the animal. Mostly ash. So you see really no dark feces. And they'll tear that apart. Let's take a look at these guys. So these guys are on eggs. These are the coupois. And these guys are laying. This is my wild Heckle and my turquoise Heckle cross. Alright. My son is breeding guppies. Let's see if they'll eat it. We'll do the omnivore for the guppies. So let's see. Let's see if they'll eat it. Yep. All right, so that's it. That's just a quick introduction to my food. Should be out by mid-January, maybe early January, I'm not sure. Shipping to all 48 lower states in the United States. Put a lot of time into this and a lot of money. I'm probably about 10 grand into just producing these foods. So the cost is in the time, but really most of the cost is in the packaging and the labeling, which has just been insane to try to figure out. So we're building the website right now, should be out in a few weeks, and then I'll let you know. But I'm going to be trying making videos at least once a week now. I've closed one of my businesses because I want to kind of do this full time. Still have another business. I'm going to do that for another year and see where we land with this business. If it goes well, great, we'll move on from that business. But if not, then I'll just have the most amazing food in the world. And what I'll do is I'll just breed my fish and sell them. And that's one thing about this food. It really does help. If you want to breed fish, this food is almost a must. But besides that, I appreciate you guys. And I know that I haven't been making videos. And I know everybody says that, but it's just been crazy. And if you want to see, so my next video will be on discus water, because I've changed my thoughts on water big time. But if you want to see how my original thoughts, watch this video. I want to leave my old videos up because I want you to understand that even though I've been doing this for over 30 years, I'm still learning. So you're going to see a difference from that video to my next video. But I wanted to introduce this food video, and believe it or not, I've made 4 videos for this, and the card got corrupted. So as I was trying to film it, and then as I was trying to download it and edit it, it just wasn't working out on all the videos. So I just made this quick one at night, and I will see you guys real soon. Any questions, leave them in the comments. I know I can't go through everything on this video, but since they're going to be coming out more often, more information will be coming. All right, thanks guys.